your hydroponic tips with Hope Innovations, and today we're going to be talking about pollination. So a lot of you guys might be having plants like your cucumbers, your tomatoes that have lots and lots of flowers, but you're not getting any fruit from them. And this is largely due to lack of pollination. So normally when you grow outdoors, you have natural elements like your wind and your bugs that will do the pollinating for you. However, now because you're growing inside, your plants don't have access to that. They don't have wind, they won't have bugs that will transport the pollen from flower to flower. So it's your job to do that. So there's a few ways you can do that. Before we go into the ways, we need to go over a few little flower tips and just a flower anatomy. And so there is going to be two different types of plants. One plant or vegetable, they have flowers that have both the female and male parts in the flower. And they are self-pollinators. So because they'll have the stigma and pistil in one flower, the pollen will be able to self-fertilize and produce fruits. Now the second one is going to be more for your cucumbers, your squashes, your zucchinis, and your melons. They actually have separate parts. So you'll have a male flower and a female flower. So the male flower will hold the pollen and the female flower will have the ovary, and that's what's going to produce the fruit. So in those plants, you guys, how you kind of distinguish the female and male flower is the male will have just the stem to a flower, and the female flower will have either a little bulge or a little mini fruit and then the flower. And so when you guys are growing your cucumbers, you guys are growing your melons, you have to make sure you have to pollinate them. And how you do that is you take a male flower, and you can either do it by picking that male flower and putting and touching all the female flowers with that male flower, or you guys can take a toothbrush or a Q-tip, take the pollen from the male flower, and then you're going to take that and you're going to spread it to all the female flowers. Just going to go and start the reproduction cycle. So again, that is your cucumbers, your zucchinis, and your melons, squashes. They all have female and male flowers. They are not self-pollinators, and so you're going to have to manually do it. Now with your tomatoes, your peppers, and beans, the flowers will have both your female and male parts in one flower. They can grow or they can do self-pollination, but it really helps if you help them along, you'll get more fruits. So there is a few ways you can do this. You can have a fan that has a slight breeze to imitate the wind just blowing on your garden. You can put that on a timer, you can do it during the day. That will help a lot. Or you can take the plant, you can do it at least 2 to 3 times a week, just gently shake it. That's going to mimic the wind, and that's just going to release the pollen, and then that will produce the flowers. There's another way you can do it is you're going to take a Q-tip and a toothbrush, and you're just going to dab each flower as you go. There's also another thing that you guys do have to take into account, especially if you guys are in a drier climate, now it's coming into winter, is if the air is too dry, it will actually dry up the pollen, and your plants will not go into flowering. So if you are self-pollinating them and no fruits are going, that's probably because it's too dry in the air. So what you guys can do is just mist your plants daily, and that's just going to create that moisture and allow the pollen to not dry up and get. So those are the tips I have for you. If you guys have lots of flowers, make sure you try this out. If you're growing cucumbers, melons, make sure you guys know that they're separate flowers and that you have to take the male to the female flower. And that's everything.